Hold on, Dave's not ready.
Hello.
Great start, Dave.
We're live. We're live. Sorry, I was fiddling about behind the camera. That's very professional. Welcome to Do3 Coaches Q&A. If anyone's watching, then please tell us you're watching. We can see there's 2,000 people watching right now. There's about 2 people watching right now. But anyway, we're here and we're recording it, and we're going to be sending this out to those people that aren't watching it. So if you're watching this on the recording, this is not live. Anyway, I'm Dave. I'm one of the coaches at Do3. This is...
I'm Corinne. I'm also one of the coaches at Do3.
And I'm Anita, also one of the coaches at Do3.
We are professionals. Right. Okay. So what we're doing today then is we are going to hoover up some questions which have been sent in to us by various people. We run swim squads and triathlon training groups, and we run Do3, and we've got loads and loads, hundreds and hundreds of athletes that we're in contact with on a regular, I'm not looking at the camera, which we're in contact with a regular basis through our social media and live sessions and all that kind of stuff. So we've asked everybody to send some questions in, and we've got 3 questions. No, we've got more than that. We've got some questions which have come in,
Quite a few
and
questions.
We're going to go through those today. So if you're watching this, then tap away on the keyboard. The comments will pop up on our screen, and we will try and hoover up some of them. Let's put it on the screen here, actually. This is probably going to make everything stop working. There we go. Oh, it's right in front of our faces. That's good, isn't it? Simon Mills, with Zone 2 runs and rides being popular training tool, i.e. 80-20, so the 80-20 rule in terms of effort and intensity, is there such a thing as Zone 2 swim, or is that the difference between open water and pool sessions? Well, we were talking about this before we before we started this broadcast, weren't we? And it's quite interesting because lots of people, when they're swimming particularly, will get in and swim at a single pace. Some people swim long and slow all the time. Some people swim too fast all the time. And the simple answer to your question, Simon, is yeah, there definitely are different training zones when you're swimming, and you do need to mix up the training efforts the same way as you do with cycling and with running as well. So yeah, don't get in and swim one pace all the time. And there's no reason why when you're swimming open water that you can't do the same kind of thing. So very often people swimming in the open water, they'll swim non-stop and they'll do long intervals, and they'll just kind of won't vary the pace or anything like that. But you can mix that up too. So doing some efforts between buoys, doing some fast starts, doing some fast finishes as you kind of maybe looking to get out the water and things like that. So you can definitely mix it up in the open water as well.
The chances are the open water swimming that we know Simon does a lot of open water swimming with us. The chances are when you're going round and round the lake, that will be your Zone 2 swimming. And like Dave says, the thing that you're probably missing is the speed work. So yeah, either do that in the pool, do some 25s sprint work, or do it between the buoys on open water.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Simon. It's the kind of thing we could talk about for hours and hours and hours. I did a one-to-one with a chap last night, young Joe. I'm sure he won't mind me talking about him, but he says he gets in and he swims 2,000 meters every time he goes swimming. Gets in, swims 2,000 meters, gets out, and that's something we hear all the time as coaches, not just in the open water but in the pools. They just get people get in and swim, do their long swim and get back out again. It'll achieve some kind of training effect, but it's not the best way of doing things. You really want to mix it up a little bit, do some fast intervals, some slow intervals, and also your technique can start to get a bit sloppy if you're doing long intervals all the time. So just kind of break it up a little bit is probably the best advice. Should we move on?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go and rattle through these. Okay. The next one then is from Phil. Drop that on the screen there. Phil, well done for your ride on Sunday. Phil came out for a ride with us on Sunday. Was an absolute legend. So well done for coming along, Phil. Do you have any drills to practice turning in open water swims that can be practiced in the pool? And again, we kind of covered this. We went through this before we kind of started online, and we were doing some practicing behind. We were discussing whether to do the practicing actually live. So we'll see what happens. It's quite difficult to practice some of the open water skills, well, particularly in terms of turning in the pool, because you really need something to turn around, and you need the space to be able to turn around. In some,
And the reality is, most of the pool lanes won't be you won't ever have to turn that tightly.
yeah,
In a triathlon or an open water swim, you'll be turning at an angle round a buoy rather than doing a dead 180 sort of out and back. So yeah, you wouldn't need to turn that tightly, but yeah, we were trying to do some practice of that. Should we do our demonstration? Do you want to do a demonstration?
Oh, go on then. Go on then.
Of how to turn around a buoy in open water, because there are various ways you can turn around buoys in open water. Dave, do you want to demonstrate corkscrew turns?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
I'm going to be a buoy.
Bearing in mind, it's what month is it? Where are we? March. It's March in the UK. None of us have swum for a long time in the open water. We can give it a go. Right. So if you've actually in the open water and you've got an actual buoy to practice on, that's the best way to go. If you're in a pool and you've got the space and you've got something to swim around, that's great. If you haven't got something, get somebody to swim around, because you need something to kind of maneuver around. Right. So the best way to do it is to do it in order to do a fast, sharp turn in the open water, is to do a corkscrew turn and actually to roll on your back, which sounds a bit weird, but it's kind of easier to do it than it is to explain it, if that makes sense. I'm going to try and demonstrate it now. I don't know what you're expecting this to go wrong, aren't you? All right, so
comedy viewing.
Right, so you probably won't be able to hear me very well, but we'll see how we get on. What we're going to do is I'm going to be swimming up to Corin. Corin is the buoy. So I got told about my air swimming technique earlier, so I'm going to try and keep it good. All right, so we're going to swim up to the buoy. So you swim up to the buoy, and as you approach the buoy, the hand that is nearest to the buoy extends forwards, and then you should continue. Your momentum will take you past the buoy, and at that point, I'm going to do this again. So your hand extends past the buoy, and you're rotating. And as you continue past the buoy, that rotation continues, then you actually bring the other arm over and then take a catch and swim away that way. Like I said, it's more difficult to kind of explain it in the kind of out of the water than it is to do it. But effectively, you need to think about the rotation carrying on. So again,
that enables you to turn tight around the buoy.
Yeah. Otherwise you're swimming up, and you'd have to kind of try and maneuver your way around. It's not a very effective way to do it, although we're going to demonstrate all right, so again, you come up to the buoy, the momentum will take you past the buoy, you're rotating as you swim normally, and you carry on that rotation. The other arm comes over the top, and then you carry on your stroke and swim away like that. I hope that makes sense. It's a bit of a rubbish demo doing it here, isn't it? But anyway, I hope you get the idea.
A double lane to practice that in the pool. I don't think you could do it in a single lane because there's just not enough space.
No.
If you do end up having to do a sort of out and back around a buoy, you can roll twice. So the sort of the demonstration that Dave gave there would take you sort of 90 degrees around the buoy. You can go over twice, and that will roll you back and come back in the same direction that you started out from.
Do you want to practice? Do you want to go?
What, doing the rolling turn? No, it's fine.
Yeah. So hopefully you've kind of understood that. The best thing to do is to practice a lot with these things. Get yourself in the open water. We run the open water swimming at Compton Verney here, just in Warwickshire. We run our own. We run the open water swimming sessions there. We have our skills sessions. So if there's something like that near you, then book in, get involved, and practice. It'll make you feel more confident in the water. It's good to have skills like this that you can kind of pull out your tool bag when you're swimming along, and also other skills like sighting and drafting. What else is there?
Mass starts. Swimming with lots of other people close to you, which you kind of get that in a pool, but not bumping you from the sides and things. That's really good to practice.
Yeah. Did that answer Phil's question, do you think? Can we practice in the pool? I think so, didn't it?
I hope so.
Currently towards the end of a session when it's quieter, I'll perform some torpedo push-ups. Okay, so Phil's just describing what he does to try and practice his turns. It's difficult unless you've got the space, like we've already said. Hope that answers your question, Phil. If you're watching, then just drop us another question, or let us know if you kind of you understand that. Right, next one then, Becky Beasley. Let's drop this on. There's going to be a lot of text on this, so it's probably going to have to stretch it out a bit. There we go. All right, so any nutrition and fueling tips? I'm doing my first middle distance try this year, and which will be my longest endurance event yet. So middle distance try. I know I'll need to be refueling on the bike. On long rides, I normally have oats and fruit bars, which are naked or Trek bars. Sometimes sandwiches. I like old school having sandwiches on the.
I think sandwiches on the
yeah,
bike's a good thing.
yeah. I've never tried gels. I'm not sure whether they would suit me. I also worry that there's a fine line between taking on too much and too little, and then having issues on the run. I'm also a vegan. Okay, all right. So there's quite a lot to cover there. Basically, the whole racing nutrition subject all in one question there. Where should we start? So first of all, let's get this question off here, otherwise it's going to cover everything up. First of all, yes, Becky, it's really, really important that you get the nutrition right and you do fuel yourself adequately and you practice it way before race day so that when race day comes, you know what you're going to use, you've practiced it, and you're perfectly happy and confident that what your process is going to be, and that you're going to get through the race without having any kind of energy drops. So first of all, yes, or tummy issues. So yes, it is really important that you practice, and we try and get that right. Refueling on the bike, and normally have fruit bars, sometimes sandwiches. Never tried gels. So what you really need to work out, Becky, is how much kind of energy you need to be consuming during both during racing, but also training as well. And it's a start point. I mean, happen to know, Becky, that you're fairly petite. So, and I say that because most people will be kind of pitching it as a start point around 1 gram of carbs per kilogram of body weight per hour, which is actually for some people quite a lot, and actually a lot more than most people are used to taking. So, contradicting to what I just said, we'll maybe start a little bit further back than that. So, what I would suggest for you, Becky, particularly, is you maybe start with something like a bar or a gel or the equivalent per hour, and then start to take it up from there. But for most people, because Becky's pretty petite, isn't she? But for someone like me, I would need. I mean, I'm 90 kilos, so that could be 3 gels, for example, per hour, which is a lot. If you're doing a 6-hour bike ride, you do literally have to kind of keep on shoveling it in. And then this is something for a different broadcast, I guess, really, breaking down how to deal with the sheer volume on long distance triathlons. But you have to kind of really carefully think about. I'm going to talk myself down a massive rabbit hole here. So yes, you do need to think carefully about how much you're going to take. But I would start with one bar or gel or the equivalent per hour and see how that feels. Becky, you've mentioned that you have fruit bars and oat bars and sandwiches. Race day might be slightly different, but certainly in training, really, as long as you're getting the carbs in, it doesn't kind of really matter where those carbs are coming from. So we were talking before, weren't we? Kind of malt loaf, chocolate bars.
And baked bars from Science and Sport.
Yeah.
Babies.
Jelly babies. So it doesn't all have to be from expensive.
Roast potatoes.
It can be.
Some people have pork pie.
It can be. The carbohydrates can be from anywhere. And again, you have to kind of practice it and trial it. And yes, energy gels and similar things to that they're purposefully designed for you to get that fast energy into your system. So some of the things might take a bit longer to hit your system and give you that energy, but you can pretty much practice with most things. So trial and error. There's millions of things out there that you can try from. You can try to use. So just what else? Never tried gels. I definitely try some gels because that's what most races will have on the course. I think Ironman are using Morton at the moment, aren't they? Certainly for some of the
Try the
races.
gels that are going to be on course.
Yeah. Find
Yeah.
out what they're going to be
They'll do.
using in your race and practice with those, and practice with them for as early as you possibly can. Start
Yeah.
now if your race is in July, and take them as frequently as you will need to take them in the race. Dave was saying what he would take during a race. If I'm racing, I'll be taking something on every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I actually have my my bike computer set to alert every 20 minutes because I tend to forget. I'll start the first hour and I'll be really good at getting food on board, and then I'll get bored of eating. And so, second hour, third hour, fourth hour, I'll forget and I'll think, oh, I'll have something in a bit, and I never do. So I set my alert on my Garmin, and I tend to have 2 gels and half a bar every hour. I try and get more solid food on the bike because I find it hard to chew when I'm running. So, but I fuel all the way through the race. I'll have something just before the race, like 10 minutes before, half a banana or something in transition, and then start fueling straight away on the bike. Get as much as you can in on the bike because it's harder on the run. And then if you take in food more frequently, you're less likely to have tummy issues on the run. If your stomach gets really empty and then you start taking on gels, that's when you're more likely to end up having problems. So try and keep the fuel going in little and often, and that generally makes it easier on your stomach. Yeah. Also, really, really important hydration and electrolytes, because sometimes if being underhydrated has a massive impact on your performance, but also making sure you're taking electrolytes, not just water, because it's possible to have too much water, and it's also water just tends to go straight through you, so you just need to spend the whole time needing the loo. But take on electrolytes. They're really important during the race.
Yep. And in terms of you mentioned kind of underfueling, worrying about underfueling or overfueling, then that goes back to what I said at the beginning. Just kind of practice, pitch it slightly on the lower side to start off with when you first start your nutrition strategy, and seeing if you have energy dips, try and get it up towards the gram of carb per kilogram of body weight per hour. There are some people who can go over that now. There's different kind of ratios of carbs and fructose and glucose, and that kind of the way they're blending the nutritional products or the energy products. So you can actually, your body can absorb more than that, because ideally you want to be getting in as close to what you're burning per hour, to make sure that you don't have energy drops. So just practice, see if you can nudge it up there, and keep going like that. If you have too much, what will happen is your body will stop processing it. So your body most people can only process, it's a big wide range, but most people can process kind of between 70 and 90 grams of carbs per hour. So if you want somebody who can only process 70 grams of carbs per hour and you're putting 100 grams carbs in per hour, what will happen is you will continue to only process 70, and the extra 30 will start to build up inside your stomach and will start to make you feel full and nauseous, and that you won't want to eat anymore. So you got to watch eating too much. So there is a limit about how much you can kind of cram in there for your body to process. So you do need to be aware of it. So as always, trial and error, keep practicing it, and just seeing how it spins out. I know we haven't kind of gone into specifics in terms of types of gels and types of this and types of that today, but just kind of a general overview. So I hope you found that useful, Becky. But again, give us a shout if you've got any more questions on that side of things. I think we've covered that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Next one, we have Stephen. So make this a bit bigger on here. Do you think strength training is important for long distance events? we're getting some kind of quite big questions coming, aren't we? These are questions you can try and answer in a couple of minutes, or you could actually take about 3 hours answering, couldn't you? So we'll try and keep this fairly short for you, Stephen. Generally, our methodology here at Do3 is that the vast majority of our strength work is done functionally. So as a matter of course, we don't prescribe strength and conditioning sessions to athletes, particularly younger athletes. And when we say younger athletes, we kind of, in my mind, I kind of have like a 50-year-old as a bit of a line. It's not quite as simple as that. I'm over that line now. You're over the line.
We're all over
over the line. Yeah.
I think younger athletes tend to be under 30, Dave.
Yeah,
Sorry.
wishful thinking maybe. But so the point I'm making is for younger athletes, athletes who haven't started to age yet. That sounds rubbish, doesn't it? But when you hit 50, you'll know what I'm talking about when I'm saying this stuff. We start to introduce a little bit more strength and conditioning because we find that older athletes need to have that kind of supplementary strength and conditioning training to kind of help prolong your life in the sport. But if you're 20 and you're busy and you only have a certain amount of time to train, yeah, we promote functional strength training. So it may be lots of hill reps on the bike, lots of hill reps running, swimming with paddles and pull buoys and that kind of thing. So actually doing the sports and doing your strength exercises during that. But again, if we identify athletes have a certain particular imbalance or a weakness, then yeah, we will suggest that they do some strength and conditioning work to supplement that. And again, as athletes get older, we are more and more recommending actually that they start to build in supplementary strength work. So particularly kind of leg strength, core exercises to try and make their have a more stable platform for them to operate from. So Steve, we know that you're a swimmer and you're a distance swimmer. So you're going to be doing, unsurprisingly, lots of exercise with your arms. So it would pay off for someone like yourself to do some supplementary work on the upper body, so that you're not purely working your actual kind of swimming muscles, if you like, because what that will do is the muscles that aren't directly used in your freestyle stroke will become a little bit weaker, and you want to try and make sure that doesn't happen so that they take some of the load of the main working muscles, if that makes sense. So it's really worth doing some supplementary exercises for that. And also, particularly for yourself and as a swimmer, some core work to make sure that you've got a good solid foundation for your for the rest of your body to operate from.
Yeah, I think so we know that Steve is doing long distance swimming this year, and when you're swimming those kind of distances, you're doing thousands and thousands of strokes in one motion and one plane of movement. And so if you're doing that, it's, as Dave says, it's really important to strengthen around the joints for stability of those joints. So so working them slightly differently to how you would if you were just doing swim strength work with paddles in the pool. So yeah, going and doing some sort of shoulder stability, working all the muscles around the shoulder, the neck, the back, and the core to help stabilize those joints. So you know, if you're swimming open water and your arm gets knocked by a wave and taken out of the normal line, the shoulder is stable enough to support it, and you don't end up with an injury. So yeah, it's more about prehab. So building resilience in your joints and your muscles to protect them when you're doing such a lot of repetitive work.
Yeah. And it's not kind of directly related to your question, but it's kind of, I guess it is linked in that it's worth doing some pre-workout strength work sometimes. So I'm just talking about using bands to really thoroughly warm up the swimming muscles before you get into the water, so that you're not, because some of our sessions we start quite quickly. We do have a warm up, but sometimes we've only got a limited time, so we do kind of crack on quite quickly. So it can be worth just doing some band work and just mimicking, for example, the catch and doing some shoulder rotations and that kind of thing, just to get yourself warmed up and get the muscles activated and ready, so that they're less likely to get injured because you're suddenly asking or demanding a lot of extra work from them. So just warm them up and prepare them for what it is that they're doing, and then kind of almost also ingraining those movement patterns before you get into the water. I think we covered that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Again, if anyone's watching, guys, if you've got any questions you want to fire in, then just type them in the comments, and they will come through to us, and we'll try and hoover those up. We're going to try and keep this under an hour, which would be an absolute miracle for us. Right. Well, next one is a question. We've got a few questions here from Emma. So here we go, Emma. How often should a brick session be done? Is there a certain distance to do to make it a beneficial training session? Well, how often should a brick session be done? It very much depends on where you are in your training phases. So at Do3, we recommend doing brick sessions pretty much through the whole training cycle. Not in the off season so much, but the rest of the kind of the main training cycles, then we do. And again, it depends where you are in that cycle, because we use reverse periodization at Do3. So early on in the training phases, even long distance athletes are doing short sessions, are doing speed and power work quite early on. So we get Ironman athletes to do short, kind of high intensity bricks quite early on in the training cycle. Okay, and there's a few reasons for that. It's good for you to get the body used to running off the bike. It should feel that it should be something that your body is used to doing. It shouldn't be a huge, strange thing for you to do on race day. It should be something which is normal and your body is used to doing it, and get used to doing it. And we do them every couple of weeks, really, don't we?
Yes.
But they start off really short. So sometimes we will do, for example, a 20-minute build run, and then sometimes we will run easy off the bike, just to kind of get you moving off the bike and getting used to that transition from bike to run. Sometimes we will get you to run fast off the bike, as though you're doing, say, you're doing a sprint triathlon. So getting used to, a fast leg turnover immediately off the bike. So we kind of do it both ways round. Sometimes we will. So if you're doing longer distance training, so for middle distance and say Ironman training, it's quite difficult to simulate the sensation of being in the mid to late stages of an Ironman race in training, because you can't continually and regularly ride for 5 hours on your bike and run for 3 hours, because these training sessions become effectively, almost an Ironman in their own right, and you can't do that. You can't do that in training. So we have to find a way of trying to generate as much fatigue in the legs without actually overloading the system, which is going to potentially knock you out of training and need you to recover for a couple of weeks. And the way we do that is by doing short bursts of intensity and low cadence work on the bike. So really kind of working the legs hard, but in a shorter period of time, and then running off the bike off that. So we do mix it up. But in answer to your question, I've kind of waffled on a little bit there, but brick sessions, yes, really important. And is there a certain distance to do to make it beneficial, a beneficial training session? So there are beneficial in terms of aerobic training and actual fitness training, and there's beneficial in terms of simply getting your body used to running off the bike. So there's two reasons to do it. There's two benefits there. So if it's for those reasons, yeah, I mean, absolutely, we do it. We do them all the time. I don't know if there's anything else that we need to cover on that.
In terms of length of them, sort of further away from your race, so earlier in the training program, I would say just run off the bike fairly often, really short, 5-10 minutes just off the bike to get yourself used to running after being on the bike, because to start off with, it feels horrible, really, really horrible, and you don't want to have that on race day. So just get used to it as often as you can. Just go for a jog. Really, it's not part of the sort of muscular, the sort of the training session in terms of building fitness and whatever. It's just getting used to running after a bike session. So you might have an interval session on the bike, then just go for a run around the block to cool down, and just do that for a bit. And then you start building in, as Dave said, you start building in longer runs. You start mixing it up a little bit with those runs becoming sort of negative split runs, sort of building the pace through them, or doing some faster work off the bike. But just start off really simple, really short, just to get used to it.
Good. Okay. We done?
Yeah, Simon's just added some. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, just on that, people say that about a kilometre before you find your run legs off the bike, isn't it? So don't be surprised if you think, God, my legs ain't moving.
Yeah.
Give it a good 1K or so to get into your pace.
Yeah. But the more often you do it, the easier it gets.
Yep.
So come race day, if you've been doing them every couple of weeks, you should feel fine.
Don't avoid them. Certainly don't avoid them. And also set yourself up for your transition. So transition is something else which is part of the sport as well. So think about it, plan it ahead, get your shoes ready, and try and get yourself from bike to run as quickly as you can. Don't, go in, have a cup of tea and sit down and then go out half an hour later. We've got to try and make it as quick as and realistic as possible.
Don't cool down off the bike and then go for a run. Make your run the cool down. So get onto the bike, get out the door as quickly as you can off the bike. So
Simon's just sent this in. Can you do a brick session the other way around? Run then bike, just as a fitness session? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, why not? Why not? You can do run bike if you like. You can do all sorts of things. So duathletes out there will be mixing it up a little bit more and going backwards and forwards. So absolutely no reason why not. The more time you practice going from back and forth from one to the other will make you slicker on transition on race day. So no problem with that at all. Right, next one. What we got? We've got 2 questions in one here. So, tips on hill training for the bike, going uphill and downhill outdoor training. Do you do these the same as the hill run training, or pick a route with multiple hills? Okay, so I think what we're talking about here is so hill run training. You would run up and down, potentially run up and down, do reps on a hill. And I think this is Emma as well, isn't it? Is asking, on the bike, would you do the same thing, or would you just kind of go for a hilly bike ride? And to be honest, we do both. We do both. There's a lot of. When I've done hill session on the bike, we'll go to Edge Hill. We've got Edge Hill just around the corner from here, and I will do Edge Hill reps. I've done it for a long time. In fairness,
you did do reps.
I did it more than once before you say it as well. But yeah, no, absolutely, up and down. And the good thing about doing that is you can monitor your time going up, so you can have really good awareness about how much power you're using going up, for example, how long it's taking you, and you can kind of over weeks you can start to see the improvement and the changes. Maybe your heart rate is a little bit lower for doing those reps. Sometimes you need a bit more recovery. You can cycle down and then go a little bit longer along a straight, for example, before you turn around and come back. You might need a bit more rest in between. So really mix it up. And then sometimes you might want to do a hilly bike ride and again, we've got plenty of hills around here. You can pick a route where you're up and down. And to be honest, it'll have a similar kind of effect.
It's sometimes more enjoyable to do that kind of ride. And also it teaches you to the sort of bike handling skills, learning to judge how you're going to approach the hill, because if you go up and down the same hill all the time, it's brilliant training, but you will know when you change gear, what cadence to ride at. You get sort of into a habit of how you ride that hill. If you go on a rolling hilly ride, you have to sort of make the judgment as you're riding as to when you're going to change gear and how you're going to ride that hill. Might be a long, steady one. It might be a short, steep one. And it's really good practice to be able to ride those different kinds of gradients and practice them. So, you might not have the opportunity to ride the triathlon race route before the day. So, you've seen a profile on a screen, but you don't really know what that equates to in real life. So if you're used to riding all sorts of different kind of hills, then you'll be much better prepared for a hilly bike ride on race day.
Yep, good. And Second part of the question, are there any turbo sessions which can replicate hills? Been doing a majority of sweet spot training indoors. Should I be doing any other sessions to train the muscles for outdoor hills? So you would think that doing hills on a turbo indoors is difficult. And I guess real hills, it kind of is, because you're fixed in a flat position on the bike. But really what you're doing when you're doing hill training is you're dropping the cadence down a little bit, generally for most people, and you're having to push the pedals a little bit harder. And it becomes more of a kind of a strength workout, if you like. And you don't have to be on a hill to do that. You can do that on the flat. You can do that on your turbo by staying seated, getting the cadence down a little bit, and then really working those pedals, pushing hard on those pedals, and effectively doing a hill workout on the flat. What you can do if you're on a smart trainer, and you're on Zwift or Training Peaks Virtual, for example, is you could pick a hilly course, and it'll be the same as what we discussed as running outdoors. You just follow the course over the hills. Or if you have a long hill, I think Box Hill on Zwift is one that gets used, and things like that. You can climb, you can press the U-turn button on Zwift, and you can ride back down. You can press the U-turn button, you can go back up, and you can actually do hill reps on Zwift and use the erg system within the smart trainer to adjust the resistance, and then again push hard through those pedals. So you can ride hills on the turbo and have a similar effect. Absolutely right. No reason why not.
Yeah.
I thought I had sensed you were going to say something
No.
but no. All right. Hope that answers your question, Emma. Let's have a look at the next one. All right, let's get rid of this. And this is a really good one, actually. Do you need to skip a training session in the week if you need to skip a training session in the week because of other commitments, which one is the lowest priority and the best to skip? Right. So we have a general rule here at Do3. If something comes up, say it's Tuesday and you can't do Tuesday's training session, whatever that training session is, it goes. You let it go. Okay. And then whatever's on Wednesday, you crack on with Wednesdays. What you don't do is you don't shove Tuesday's training session onto Wednesday and then move Wednesday's session onto Thursday. Or if you miss Tuesday and Wednesday, you put all 3 sessions on Friday. Doesn't work. You got to let it go and just take the rest. Accept that you're missing a session, because I know some people really struggle with missing sessions, don't they, Annie? Yes. Or both of you, actually. Yes. It's not good. Let it go, take the rest, and move on. That's the rule we stick to, and yeah, that's what we do here. If you can see it, you're going to have to skip a training session a bit further out, and you're looking at the whole week, and you think I've got to miss next Thursday's training session, then yeah, maybe you can look at it and think, okay, which sessions are priority, which ones, what can I shuffle around to try and make this work? And I guess again, we were talking about this earlier. It depends. It depends. Well, there's a few things. Depends what your strengths and weaknesses are. What you might have a temptation to do is to miss the sessions that you don't like so much. When of course what you should do is miss the sessions that where you're strongest, and make sure you don't miss the sessions where you're the weakest. So that's one way to look at it. And also it may well be that you've got it might be an easy recovery run. On our training sessions, we actually our training plans, we very often put key. We mark which sessions are key sessions. So they are the ones which we recommend you don't miss. And they're different for different people. So if you're doing a long distance plan, it may well be that we recommend you don't miss the big, long endurance sessions, because they're the ones that are going to get you through your long races. Maybe if you're doing a sprint, if you're a sprint athlete, it may well be that we recommend that you don't miss, say, a brick as you get in towards race day, or you don't miss your speed intervals. So I think something which is going to really prepare you for your race. And it may well be that you can miss something which is a little bit more lower intensity and isn't going to give you so much training benefit, which I know takes a certain amount of understanding on your part, but that's the kind of the way you've got to look at it. Ultimately, if you're coached by us, ask us, or ask your coach. Or if you're not coached by us and you you want to ask us a question, then by all means send us a question, and we'll do what we can to help you out.
I would also say with that is look at if you're having to miss sessions during the week, look at the structure of the whole week, and if you are moving things around, be really careful about what you put on back-to-back days. Don't put like a run interval session and then a bike interval session, sort of high intensity stuff back to back. Think about, what it's going to take out. One session's going to take out of your legs and how that's going to impact you on the next day, because you do need to recover from the high intensity sessions. So be careful about how you juggle things around on your week. And if that means you do a high intensity session on the bike, but you don't do the run one, and you do an endurance run, then that might be something that you have to think about for a week where you're missing sessions. So balance out the endurance and the higher intensity stuff between the sports if you have to.
Yep, good. Okay, so last one. Emma's kept us busy today, hasn't she? We've had quite a few from Emma. So this is one Corinne's going to get a wetsuit on in a minute and do a demonstration for this. Any tips on getting your wetsuit off quickly? I take ages wiggling out of mine. Yeah, that's the question there. So any tips on getting your wetsuit off quickly? I take ages wiggling out of mine. Do you want to take this? You're the wetsuit wiggling expert, aren't you, Corinne?
Yeah, that's because my wetsuits are always really tight, way too tight. So yeah, wetsuits should be tight. They work best if they fit really closely, but that does make getting them off in transition quite tricky. So what I do with mine, I'm quite small anyway, quite short. So, but I would still recommend this for taller people, is to cut the legs shorter on your wetsuit. So you don't really need the neoprene to go right down to your ankle bones. Cut it shorter. I actually have mine cut up to almost to the bottom of my calves. That means that you've got a wider opening at the bottom, so it's easier to pull over your ankles, over your feet. So cut the legs short. Most of them will be glued. Any seams will be glued on them. So that and some wetsuits even come with lines to cut. So they are designed to be cut. They're not going to fray and fall apart. Not if you've got a proper swimming wetsuit anyway. So cut the legs short. I find it easier if I've got a sleeved tri-suit underneath. It comes off over the shoulders more easily. But I also put baby oil underneath my wetsuit. So before the race, I'll put a glove on, get baby oil all over my arms and my legs underneath the wetsuit, and that helps it slide off more easily. Put the glove on just so you don't end up getting slippery hands when you go to race. So that's that. When you come out of the water after you swim, start taking your wetsuit off straight away. I leave my hat and goggles on, so I've got both hands free to take my wetsuit off. Know where your zip pull is. Some people have them put under the Velcro at the top and some hang down. Know where to reach for. Get it undone, and as you're running up to transition, get the top half of your wetsuit down to your waist. So you've got half of it off before you get to your racking point. When you get to your racking point, goggles, hat off, and then pull the wetsuit down to your knees and then stand on it with one foot and then kick the other foot out. Okay, so lift your knee up and actually kick, and that will help you get it off your lower legs.
That it?
Yeah. Don't hang your wetsuit on the rack because you get in trouble for it, but make sure you put it tidily by your bike. Yeah,
practice. It takes a bit of getting used to, especially if you don't cut, or if you don't cut the wetsuit at the bottom, like Corinne says. Some of them could be quite long, and they get quite narrow. And then you see people really struggling to get them off over their ankles. So yeah, just kind of, if you can get rid of some of the material, get rid of some of the material. But don't be scared about putting your foot on it and giving it a good yank with the other foot to get your foot out. That's the best way of doing it. And if you've got some baby oil, it'll make it pop out a little bit more easily, won't it?
It is okay to sit down and take your wetsuit off as well. So don't be afraid to do that. If you find it easier to get it off if you're sitting on the floor, then do that.
Yeah.
As long as you're not blocking other people in transition, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting your wetsuit that fits. I know Corinne said this earlier. Getting a wetsuit that fits is vital. Too big, it's going to be a problem. Too small, you probably won't get it on. But too big, real problem, because you get full of water, and it won't be nice to swim in, and it'll carry a lot of water with it, and not good. So take your time getting a wetsuit that fits, which is difficult these days, isn't it? Because you have to buy them all online and things. But yeah, worth the time getting that right. So this is going to be our last question, I think, because we're nearly out of time. So this is a big one. This is a really good question for. I'm going to put it over my own face. There we go. There we go. Put it over there. I can go home now. Go off duty. So Mike, this is a post from Mike. Should just read the whole thing out.
Yeah.
Effectively talking. No, I'm not going to read the whole thing out. It's effectively talking about being really busy. If you're a busy person who struggles to work and get life balance right and unpredictable hours, what's the best way to kind of working around getting the most out of your triathlon training? Mike's doing middle distance and Olympic distance events. Want some direction on where to put time on the feet and in the saddle. Yeah. So effectively what Mike's saying is he's really busy. What's the best way to demonstrate, or best way to oh my God, I'm losing my train of thought here. What's the best way to work your way and achieve your training goals when you're super busy with life and everything that life throws at you? Anyone want to take that?
Corin's made notes.
And this is a really, really common one, because most of us as sort of age group athletes, we're not professionals. We've all got jobs.
Or Speak for yourself.
Most of us have got jobs. Lots of us have got family, got kids, and all sorts of other commitments that you might have outside of triathlon. So trying to fit all the training, all the things that you think you should be doing in can be a real challenge, and you've really got to sort of think about what your priorities are, and don't sacrifice your family time, your rest. Really, really don't sacrifice your sleep to be able to train early in the morning before the kids get up, and then get the kids to school, go to work, come home, train again, and then eat and take the kids to wherever and then go to bed. Because if you don't get enough rest, you're never going to improve anyway. So think about all the commitments that you have in the first place, and then including getting 7 hours at least sleep every night, including having a meal with your family and all the other things. And then work out what time you realistically have to train. And that might be 5 hours, it might be 15 hours, it doesn't matter, but work out what you realistically can set aside for training, and then make a plan. Okay, make it a plan that you can you know you can achieve. There's no point in putting together a 20-hour training plan a week if you're never going to achieve that, because you'll always end up frustrated with yourself. You'll always be absolutely shattered, and then you'll be miserable for your family, and then it snowballs into a horrible situation. So think about what you can easily achieve, because doing something consistently, doing 5 hours a week training consistently, is a darn sight better than doing 15 hours one week and then the next week crashing. So, work out what you can do, and then work out a plan that you're going to be able to achieve. Ideally, you want to. You've said what kind of training you need to do for maximum benefit. Ideally, you would do a high intensity strength session, an endurance session, and a sort of thresholdy session in each sport. Now that's 3 sessions each, which is 9 sessions a week, which generally sessions are about an hour each. That's a lot of training already. So it might not be realistic to do each type of session in each sport each week. So maybe try 2 sessions a week in each sport. Focus on your things that you're weaker at. Say if you want to build strength on the bike, do some intervals on the bike, and maybe not do the longer bike, and do a longer run for your endurance work. Or if it's still too much to do 2 sessions of everything a week, there's nothing to say that you can't spread all those sessions over 10 days or 2 weeks, and cycle, have a, rather than a week plan that you cycle through, do a 10-day plan and then repeat it, or 2 weeks. That's not a problem. There's nothing, why choose a week? Why not choose longer? And as we said in the last question from Emma, if family things get in the way or whatever, and you have to miss a session, don't worry about it. Just move on. It's really fine. You're not going to, as long as you're consistent week on week on week, even if it's doing less than you really would like to, that you're going to be a lot healthier, and you're going to make better gains than if you absolutely beast yourself one week and then you can't do anything the following week. So that's sort of setting up your training. But then, particularly if you've got younger children, it's really nice if you can somehow get them involved in what you're doing. They're going to be your biggest cheerleaders, your biggest fans. You really don't want to upset them, and you can be a really inspiration for them as well. So get them involved in your training if you can. If you're taking them out on their bikes, they bike, you run, or go down to the park with them, do shuttle runs, and that can be your strength session for that week on the run. If they've got activities, you take them to, cycling club, you go for a run while they're cycling or whatever. What else can you do? The triathlon, the transition training. I did this with my daughter years ago, and it came up on Facebook the other day. I was talking to Amanda about it. Give your child a stopwatch and get them to time you doing your transition training. They love it. They absolutely love it. If they can time mum or dad doing their training, and they can push you, you're far more likely to be motivated if your kids are watching you, and you're going to make a real effort for them. You want to impress your kids, don't you? So you just get them involved, and it's lovely for kids to watch their parents doing this kind of stuff. It's really inspiring, and it's really it's good for them to see you doing sport. So if you can, get them involved. Anything else?
No, I just think, you mentioned consistency, and that's what it's about for me, is finding the kind of the blend and the mix and the balance that allows you to be consistent. We've been around the sport for a long time now. We see people who overcommit in terms of training, and it can, without kind of putting too much of a downer on things, it can cause issues at home, because your relatives don't see you and they're unhappy about that. Constantly missing your training goals because you set your training goals too high can really mentally cause you a struggle. So, and then what happens very often with people like that is they kind of blow really hot, and then something will happen and they'll have to stop training for weeks or months. But you're better off. It's a bit like the horse and the hare and the tortoise, where you're better off just being steady and consistent, keeping everything in balance, keeping everything in check, and just getting the weeks done week after week. Good training is often very boring and consistent, just being the same thing week after week. And I always say to our coached athletes, if we have nothing to talk about, then that's weirdly is normally quite a good sign, because things are ticking along quite nicely, and that's boring is actually very good. It's when things go bonkers and then stop, and bonkers and then stop. That's the problem. So just try and get the family involved as much as possible, albeit, I'm sure a lot of people want to kind of get away from the family, but you know what I mean? Overall, just try and get that balance right. I think that's covered Mike's. Mike, it's good to see you're back and you're training with us, Mike, as well. Mike. So we'll do everything we can to support you along the way. I think that's it. I think we're pretty much at the hour, or hour total altogether. So I hope you found that useful. What we'll do is, I know if you kind of drop into this at some other time as a recording, you won't know what we've covered. So what we'll do is I'll put the list of questions down in the description down below, so you can see what questions are. We'll put some chapters and things so you can jump to the question, jump to the answer, and just find the bit that you want, rather than trying to sit through an hour of it, because it could be quite, waiting for your question to be answered, it could be quite quite dull. So we'll do that for you. And yeah, if you've got any questions or comments about what we've said, we're always here for feedback, and we're always here for answering any more questions along the way. So just put some comments down below, and we'll do what we can to hoover those up at some point. Can't finish without giving ourselves a little sales spiel towards the end of the podcast here. We are a triathlon coaching organisation and events. If you are interested in triathlon coaching or triathlon training plans, then give us a shout, because we've got a whole load of services that are available. We run this open water swimming here at Compton Verney in Warwickshire. We run On the Edge middle distance triathlon in July, and also Compton Verney sprint triathlon in July. We run training camp, we do loads of stuff. So have a look at our website. If you're
beginners and improvers front crawl, we do daily swim squads pretty much.
We just non-stop.
We live here.
We live here, and literally as soon as we press stop, we're off to the pool to do a course and to do some one-to-one. So we've got lots of services. If you're a triathlete, we're all about looking after regular, normal triathletes who are new to the sport, trying to improve in the sport, and we want to help you guys get the most out of yourself. So just give us a shout. Look at do3.co.uk. I'll put a link down below. And like and subscribe and all that stuff.
You're too up for that.
I know. It's embarrassing, isn't it? All right. So anything else from you guys?
Nope.
I hope you found that useful, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
How do we turn this off?